Hi, welcome to Wake Up Mondays, where we're here to elevate the voices of students, staff, faculty, and alumni within the O'Neill School at IU Bloomington. Today, we have Anagha Gore. So thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
Of course. Thank you for having me. I am doing very well right now. It's a weekend, the weather is good, it's nice.
Yes, we love that. Thank you for being here with us, especially on a weekend, and we're excited to push this out. So you are a student and you also just joined the Diversity Ambassadors team. So thank you. We are so excited to have you. Alrighty, so the first questions are just about you. So tell me about what you're studying at the O'Neill School and why you decided to study that.
Okay, so I am doing my master's in public administration and environmental sciences. And the reason I decided to pick that line of, academics and career is because I'm from Mumbai in India. And while I was there, I realized that India is like one of the countries that are most vulnerable to climate change. And a lot of us do not particularly care about that. And I decided, instead of going into the standard mainstream fields that we usually choose to go into, like being a lawyer or being a doctor or being an engineer, because those are the ones we're fond of the most. I decided to come here and kind of enhance my learning.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. So how did you learn about the O'Neill School and why did you decide to come here?
That is actually a very funny story. I found out about the O'Neill School from an advert in a newspaper.
Oh,
Yes. And it was from a consulting agency where, they help students apply to schools abroad. And they had advertised with this one person's name, and it had Indiana Bloomington under it. I was like, huh, okay, I don't know what this is, but my mom really wanted me to apply. And funnily enough, I wasn't actually planning to come to the US at all. I, planned to go to Europe because of a certain someone in the White House who's thankfully not there anymore. Um, but my mom insisted, and I applied, and I got in. So yeah, that was great. And I think the deciding factor to come here was one, O'Neill was known as the number one in the country for environmental policy, and two, because I got a scholarship. Yes. So yeah, and that and the fact that I speak English, but I don't know any German or any other European languages much. So yeah.
that's great. I think that that's a very interesting perspective in terms of how you found out about the school. I'm sure there's not a lot. I'd be interested to learn more about international students' perspectives, but I feel like in terms of domestic students, that's not the typical way they find out about the school. So that's really interesting. That's great. So you did touch on this a little bit briefly, but did you have any challenges navigating higher ed, or what was your general experience with it? And this could also include undergrad too.
So I did my undergrad in India, and it wasn't very good. And I decided that, since India is still a kind of, environmental sciences is still nascent back home. So that's why I decided to start applying to places abroad. And when I came here, I didn't realize how intense the American academic setting can be. There were a lot of take-home assignments, a lot of quizzes, a lot of exams, a lot of, just a lot of work. And it was unexpected because that's not quite how we do things back home. So I guess that was one of the things. And the other one was basically trying to figure out what the professors are saying. The accent was a major barrier. They didn't understand me in the first week of classes. I didn't understand what they were trying to say because even though I'm fluent in English, it was still difficult. And it took me a little bit of time, but I guess the first couple of months were just spent acclimatizing to the way that people do things, to the way you address professors. I think that was also one of the biggest barriers, because English doesn't have any honorifics built into the language. So just to go up to the professor and say stuff like, "Did you do this?" It was scary. It was like, I can't address a professor saying you,
Right, yeah.
That was challenging. But yeah, I guess, beyond culture shock and the academic intensity shock, I've been having a lot of fun.
That's great. We're glad you're enjoying it, but that's a really interesting perspective. Thank you. Um, do you have any advice you would offer to students who are coming to the O'Neill School that you wish you knew, whether it be international students or just students starting their career here?
Okay. Advice that I wish I knew. Oh, okay. Two things. One, if you don't eat, you're not going to last very long in classes.
I think every
Two,
student could use that advice, honestly.
yes. And the second one is if you don't sleep, again, you're not going to last very long in classes. Yeah. A lot of times, what I used to do in my first semester here, which was the toughest, honestly, was skip meals or skip a little sleep and get assignments done, get things done, because cooking takes a long time. But then eventually, I learned that that is not the way to go, and I couldn't even focus on half my classes. I was like, you know what? Everything else aside, I don't care if I miss deadlines. I'm gonna take care of my body first, do other things later. So, yeah.
Honestly, that's phenomenal advice that I also need to remember. So thank you. Actually, going off of that, this is a question I usually ask in the beginning, but just in terms of like self-care, things like that, do you have any hobbies or things you like to do in your free time that you might recommend to students that you're encouraging to take care of themselves?
Okay. Um, I think I have one. Yes. So I practice taekwondo. Um, but since it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, I would say if students don't have time to, practice a full-fledged hobby, I'd say at least once a day, just go out and take a walk. Even if it's just a 15-minute walk, it will clear your head and it will make everything so much easier, because when you're holed up in your room and you're, burdened by all the work that you have to do, you sort of like, your mental health takes a hit, but all you need is just a walk out. That's it. Yeah. Walking and martial arts. That's fun.
That's great. Thank you so, so much. Well, that is all the questions I have for you today. For everyone who's listening, I just want to let you all know that if you relates to this story at all, and if you feel like you may be facing some challenges adjusting, or you would want some assistance in taking care of yourself a little bit better and prioritizing self-care, you are always welcome to reach out to our office, the O'Neill School's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and you can email us at oodei@indiana.edu, and we could definitely help you get some resources. But yeah, thank you so, so much for being with us today. We were so glad to have you and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yes, you too, Sabrina. Thank you for all of your questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.